It's a big one in Athens this weekend between Tennessee and Georgia. It is Ramon Kayla and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone, as we preview the game of the century for the Big Orange. Alongside Vol for Life, Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Ramon Foster getting a shaker out for this.
Good old Rocky Top. No, woo, Will.
Getting ready to move things along here, Mo. Come on.
God.
Wait, it's coming back. It's coming back, Moan.
Here we go.
Good old Rocky Top.
Woo!
There we
There you go.
I was wondering, Will, what's going on with you this morning?
We go to the Bucks Fade Real Estate Hotline and check in with voice of the Vols, Bob Kesling. Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Morning, Bob.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm great. Don't let Ramon peak too soon now.
That's right.
It's
No.
only Thursday.
No, listen, Bob, listen to me. On this side of things, I can do that. I don't have to go block anybody.
So you can maintain this for the next couple of days. I like that. If you can do it, I like it.
See what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Will's changing up on me. He still got a little bit of that BVS in him, a little battered Vol syndrome. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
enjoy this ride.
Yeah, he's got to work on his whoop a little bit. He's got to get that a little more enthusiastic.
We'll get there.
All right.
Well, Bob, it's a big one, of course, between Tennessee and Georgia. Tennessee has met the moment every turn this season. What is the mood like around the team and around Knoxville going into one of the biggest regular season games in recent memory for this Tennessee team?
Very confident. I don't think overconfident. They know that Georgia is a really good team, and you got to go down there and play, and that's a different ingredient that they've had in these big games at Neyland Stadium. It'll be loud, and it'll be tough. Georgia, they got a 25-year-old quarterback. I mean, it's amazing. And Tennessee, of course, Hendon's almost 25. So, these are two veterans that have seen pretty much everything you could throw at them in college football. So I think the battle between Hendon Hooker and Stetson Bennett, and which one can, avoid turnovers, and which one can operate their offense and get big splash plays, I think that'll probably be the difference in this game. But Hendon Hooker is playing at such an elite level. I think everybody expected him to be better this year because that's one more year, and the reason he came back was to get better. But I don't know if anybody anticipated he'd be playing at this level. I mean, it's been pretty amazing to watch. And, he's only thrown one interception all season, and he's got 21 touchdown passes. That's a pretty good ratio, if you ask me, quarterback with interceptions to turnovers, and he just takes care of the football, and he doesn't put his team in a bad spot, and you can say pretty much a lot of the same thing for Stetson Bennett, although Bennett made some pretty risky throws last week, picked off, by Florida, and that then kind of kept Florida in the game for the first three quarters, but after that, Georgia put their foot down. So it's a great SEC college football matchup, and the whole nation's going to be interested in this game on Saturday.
Bob, Danico Slaughter added an interception for Tennessee against Kentucky. How big of a role do you feel he could play against Georgia's tight ends as that big physical corner that's kind of shifted from safety for this Tennessee defense?
Yeah, Danico is one of those guys. He's never been afraid of contact. He forced another interception, too, when Juwan Mitchell was able to pick off the pass. It was Danico who hit the receiver and popped the ball up in the air, and then Mitchell was able to intercept it. He's always been a big hitter. He's one of the most popular guys on the team. He's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. He'll play any place you want him to play. Heck, if you want him to play linebacker, he'd probably do that. But, he's played cornerback the last couple of weeks. He's played safety. He's a natural safety, probably more of a strong safety, but he'll play any place you want him to play. And, he's just a baller, and he made a bunch of big plays last week. But I think you've touched on something. The tight end matchup for these guys is really one of Georgia's strengths. They've got three really good ones. They use them. They use them in their running game. They use them in their pass game.
Mm-hmm.
Bowers is a tight end, but he plays like a wide receiver at times. So they present some really tough matchups with their tight ends in their run game and also in their pass game.
When it comes down to these two teams, we expect both of them to be good. People are more used to Georgia being good, so it's easy to say, yeah, they're king of the hill. But do you see any level of physicality being lost by the Vols when you go into Athens? Because that's usually the determining factor of two good teams.
I think when this Tennessee team at the line of scrimmage is much more physical than I thought anybody would be able to even think about. I mean, Ramon, can you remember the last time a team had an offensive lineman, the SEC offensive lineman of the week 4 straight weeks?
No.
In this conference?
No.
I mean, that's, you know, I'm not sure they had one last year, and they've had one every week. Carvin's won it twice. Well, that just tells you how their line of scrimmage is playing. And then we had Rodney Garner on Vol Calls last night, and he was just talking about the fact, you know, last year they were trying to find 2 or 3 defensive tackles that could stand up in an SEC game. Well, heck, now they're playing about 10 guys, and they're all playing at an elite level, and they're all staying fresh. And Ramon, you know, when you were playing, you'd hate to see those fresh guys coming in the third and fourth quarter because they drive you crazy. But that's what Tennessee's been able to do. And, you know, Tyree West has stepped in and made some contributions as a young guy. Josh Josephs, I think, is going to be a star in this league. And those guys are playing as freshmen and really contributing. So, and then Omari Thomas has really stepped up his game defensively. So they've really played well in holding teams under 100 yards rushing. I don't think anybody anticipated that either.
Yeah, I know. And that's the other side that I'm looking at when it comes down to watching them play against Kentucky last week. Offensively and defensively, I say to myself, this guy's supposed to be a first-round quarterback. They have a really good offensive at line at Kentucky, but I felt like it was a point to go and play bully ball. Is that how you kind of expected or like saw that game play out?
Well, I thought they were going to put, you know, Kentucky going into the game, they led the league and they were with their quarterback being sacked. He'd sacked 26 times.
Right.
So you knew that teams had been able to get to him, and Tennessee knew that. So they really came at him, but they dominated Kentucky. I thought that Levis would be able to somehow get some throws off and make some plays, but he was running for his life all game long. And Tennessee Tennessee out-hit them from the very start of the game. They're from the offensive line to the defensive line. They were just better at both ends of the football. And if you do that in this league, you got a chance to win. And Tennessee has won a bunch of their games because they've won the line of scrimmage. And that'll be big in this game because Georgia's pretty good there at the line of scrimmage as well. They got some big old guys that get in there, they can play physical too. So I think that's going to be one of the keys in this game, which team can control the line of scrimmage and which team can run the ball. Both teams want to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody talks about Tennessee's passing game and Hooker this and Hooker that. But when basically what Kentucky did, Kentucky wanted to drop 7 and rush 4. Well, Tennessee, okay, said you do that, we're going to run the ball. And they kept running the ball. And then as soon as Kentucky put a couple of guys in the box, then they threw it to Jalen Hyatt down the field for a touchdown. So that's kind of the formula, and it's worked so far, and that's what they'll try and do Saturday. But to get that going, you got to run the ball. The only game that Tennessee's really kind of struggled offensively was against Pittsburgh, and that's because Pittsburgh stopped the run. And Tennessee, had to win a bunch of one-on-one matchups on the outside and really couldn't do it. So that's going to be a key. If Tennessee's got to be able to run the ball on Saturday to win this game.
Bob, and we've seen Georgia be a little inconsistent this year. It's hard to say that about Tennessee that has been winning by the margins they've been winning by, putting up the points that they're putting up in almost every single game. You look at that Kent State game, that Missouri game. Can this team go back? Can Heupel go back and draw anything from those 2 games specifically?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Kent State has a kind of a fast-paced offense too, and they got them in some mismatch alignments and things like that. But remember, back then, Georgia was still trying to figure out where they were defensively. I mean, they lost so many guys off their defense last year. They kind of had to rebuild it. I think they have found some guys that could. Now they've had some injuries. They've lost a couple of guys in their secondary, so they're having to shuffle guys there. But I think that they're much better than they were earlier in the season. They did really struggle against Missouri, but they were able to find a way to win, and that's the mark of a championship team when you're not playing very well, and then suddenly you come up with big plays to win, and that takes you back to Stetson Bennett. I mean, he's a guy that can make plays when they really need them, and these are each week it's kind of the matchup. How do you match up against these guys, and perhaps in those games, Georgia maybe wasn't focused the way they'll be focused Saturday.
Yeah.
They will be focused Saturday. They'll know exactly what's coming to town.
I know things can change after this week, but I've talked with Ramon and Will here, and they said it was kind of surreal watching the college football playoff be revealed on Tuesday, seeing Tennessee at number 1 because it's just been so long. What has it been like there for you as a broadcaster, just the people there in Tennessee to know, and I know things can change, but just to know that you're the top team?
Yeah, I think everybody knew that this Tennessee team was going to be better this year. I mean, because they got experience and you got a veteran quarterback. You know, now in college football, if you got a quarterback, you can play. Yeah. And if you don't have a quarterback, you struggle. I mean, you saw that with Kentucky last week. You know, Levis is a good quarterback, but he got no help last week. And so he was kind of out there on an island and he really struggled. And if you got a quarterback and you protect him and you let him operate at a high level, you've got a chance to win. You can go right down the list. Ohio State's got a quarterback; they're playing really well, and just go on and on down the road. And so Tennessee's been able to protect Hendon Hooker and let him make plays, and that's really elevated this offense. But if you would have told me at the start of the season that Cedric Tillman would have one touchdown catch and Tennesse'd be number 1 in the country, 8-0, I'm not sure anybody would have believed that.
No.
And that's just what has been so amazing about this team. They have really gotten better individually, and you can go right down the list from Jerome Carvin to Amari Thomas to Jalen Hyatt. I mean, Hyatt is a guy that last year was having a tough time even getting on the field, and now suddenly already he has set the single season UT record for touchdown catches, and he's still got 4 games to play. I mean, so he could smash that record. I guess he's got a shot. The SEC record is 23. Wow. He's at 14. So I would guess if he puts 2 or 3 up per game the rest of the way, he's got a chance to break that record too. So, but Hyatt's been just an amazing story. And you can go down the list of guys that you're just, we didn't think this guy was going to be that. Well, look at him now, how he's playing. So I think it's a great tip of the hat to the coaching staff.
Yeah.
They have a tremendous staff, from Rodney Garner to Alex Golish, and just right down Tim Banks. Tim Banks suddenly has become kind of one of the hot commodities as a defensive coordinator, and he came into Tennessee virtually unknown. Everybody was saying, well, who's Tim Banks? Well, suddenly Tim Banks has put together a really rock-solid defense, and he's a hot coaching commodity right now, and justly, because he has really put this team together, and they're really playing well. They're playing fast, and Ramon, you know how that is. Yep. When you've got a defense that's flying around, that makes it hard on everybody, and Tennessee's making it hard because they're flying around.
Voice of the Vols, Bob Kesling, with us this morning on 104.5 The Zone. Bob, Jalen Wright goes for 7 carries and 73 yards in that win over Kentucky. You talk about the need to run the football in this game. Do you feel like he's earned a more prominent role again this Saturday?
I don't know. I don't know if he messed things up. He and Jabari Small have really complemented each other.
Sure.
You look, Jabari's carried the ball 110 times, and Jalen's carried it 92. So they've kind of split the carries a little bit. And, Jalen was banged up early in the season, didn't get quite as many carries. They were kind of being cautious with him. But right now, he's playing at a really high level too. And, he had 73 yards against Kentucky, and those were hard yards, and he played well. So I think they like their running backs now. I think they really think that they complement each other, and they're both playing very, very well. So, the whole offense is playing well. So you can't really point, well, they need to pick this up. I mean, the offensive line has improved. And Cooper Mays being healthy at center all season long has also been a big boost for this team because, Cooper's got that, like his dad, Kevin Mays, and his brother, he's got that little mean streak in him. And and that's what you wanted at center. You want a guy that's going to get in there and mix things up a little bit. But he's really smart, and he makes good calls at the line of scrimmage. And they've got to go so fast. I mean, that's what's so amazing between Cooper setting the front for Tennessee and then Hendon Hooker being able to get the play in 14 seconds. It's really kind of a great combination there that has really clicked well for Tennessee. But last year they just had injuries. I mean, Cooper Mays he'd play half a game and then come out with an ankle, and they'd slide Carvin over, and they had to put this guy in here and plug spots. This year, the only changes they've rotated at left tackle between Mincy and Crawford. Other than that, the other 4 guys have been in there almost every single snap. And that is a big, big bonus for a team when you got that cohesion in your offensive line, and they're all playing together and on the same page. And the offensive lines are a little bit different. They kind of bond together and have their own kind of little universe that they kind of live in during the football season, and that's what these guys have got. It, Ramon, when you've got a lot of harmony in your offensive line, and those guys like each other, it makes everything a lot better for an offensive football team.
Bob, they don't like you coming on the show preaching about the offensive line like that, man.
I'm just glad we like the offensive linemen we work with and have cohesion with him.
Bob, you know what I'm saying? Like that, they don't want to hear that. But you're right. We are important too. We are people too.
Well, tell me a good football team that hadn't had a really good or great offensive line. I mean, it goes hand in hand. And Hendon Hooker praises them all the time because there's no way in the world that Hendon would be putting up these numbers and playing the way he has without the ability to stand back there in the pocket and have time to throw. And those guys have really protected him all season long. And they've been one of the most improved units on this football team. There's no question about that.
Yes, indeed.
Voice of the Vols, Bob Kesling, has been our guest here this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. A huge one on Saturday. Bob, have a great call. Enjoy it. And we appreciate the time as always.
Yes.
Okay, well, talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Have
Bob.
a great weekend. Enjoy the games.
You too.
Yes, sir. There is Voice of the Vols, Bob Kesling, with us this morning on the show. Praising the offensive line.
I didn't even ask
But it's
for that.
very true.
It is.
And you said it at the start of the year. You saw something different with the line at Pittsburgh.
Kayla,
You did.
for real. It was, it's one thing to be a group, like the big bodies. We'll tease that on the other side, Kayla. Well, I'll tell you about that afterward. Yes.
Plus, more Preds tickets up for grabs when we come back. Much more to come on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 104.5 The Zone.